Hi, I'm Dr. Alexis Daniels. I'm a functional medicine and mind-body practitioner here at Vitality Lab at Mamba Sports Academy. And today we're going to go through 11 of my tips for a better and more restful sleep. So we all know the purpose of sleep is to repair our bodies and reorganize our brain, which is critical for learning. So all you parents that have kids like myself that are homeschooling, getting good sleep for you and them will help you both focus on your work and their school throughout the day. We know that nothing in all of the literature even comes close to the impact that sleep can have on our immune system in a really positive way. We also know that we're one of the few animals that will deprive itself of sleep. The only time other species are sleep deprived is when they don't have enough to eat. And so our metabolism and our sleep are very much intertwined, and you'll want to eat more when you're sleep deprived. So if you were to go on a diet and restrict calories as well as your sleep, then 75% of the weight you lose will be from lean body mass rather than fat because of the hormone changes that occur. And if you were to only sleep for 4 to 5 hours a night, even just for a week, a man's testosterone will drop the same degree as having aged 10 years. So sleep is so important and critical to our health. And so when patients ask me, how can I improve my sleep? My first question is, what are your days like? So physiologically, our sleep cycle is very much connected to our circadian rhythm or our wake cycle. And this is a 24-hour clock or rhythm throughout the day where hormones like cortisol rise and fall. They give us energy, they quench our inflammation, they impact hunger, while other hormones like melatonin rise throughout the night to help us get sleep and restore our bodies and prime our immune system and scavenge our bodies for foreign invaders. So the three main influencers of our circadian rhythm and therefore our sleep are our eating patterns, the type of light we're exposed to, and stress. So let's start with our eating patterns. In a normal day, most people will eat dinner between 5, 6, 7 p.m. And maybe you have a dessert, but at some point you go to bed and you fall asleep. And while you sleep, your body still needs to function. Your brain still needs glucose to be able to work. And our body will produce a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol will rise throughout the night and pull sugar stores from our muscles and our liver so that our brain can keep having glucose to work. And this blood sugar balance for the brain is really important. If you've ever been lightheaded or shaky or irritable, you've experienced low blood sugar, and that's not ideal for the brain. So cortisol needs to kick in all throughout the night to stabilize our blood sugars, to give us brain fuel. And then eventually that hormone cortisol gets so high that it peaks between 6 and 8 in the morning. And that's what's responsible for waking us up in the morning, to help us have energy, to get us kickstarted for our day. So then as you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you eat dinner, you drive your cortisol hormone down that allows you to fall asleep again, and the cycle repeats itself. So if you wake up and you're not hungry, if you have trouble getting out of bed, if you hit your snooze alarm, if you crave sugar throughout the day, if you crash at 3, 4 in the afternoon, if you wake up in the middle of the night, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, these are all signs that your circadian rhythm, that this cortisol balance is off, is not in sync. So if cortisol doesn't peak in the morning, you won't be able to wake up. It'll be hard to wake up from your alarm clock. If your cortisol is too high in the morning, it will suppress your appetite. So cortisol is also a stress hormone. And when you're running from the lion, you don't need to eat. So cortisol will suppress your appetite. So if you wake up and you're like, I can't eat, I feel nauseous, this is a sign that potentially your cortisol is too elevated. And if you have elevated cortisol, if you're running off of stress hormones all day, eventually you're gonna crash. And that's usually that 2, 3 in the afternoon crash that people feel, and then you crave caffeine or sugar to kind of build your energy back up. And when we don't have enough cortisol to make it through the night, other hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine will kick in, and they will pull those sugar stores for our brain, but they also will wake us up in the middle of the night. And that's when we wake up, we can't fall back asleep, our mind starts racing. And so all of these are signs that the circadian rhythm is out of balance. And in my office, we'll run a test called an adrenal stress index test that measure these hormones throughout the day so we can customize the recommendations for you specifically. But for now, my first 3 tips for better sleep are to start with the basics. So you want to eat within an hour of waking up in the morning. That helps to start to regulate your blood sugar so that cortisol level can drop. My second tip is to eat every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day to stabilize your blood sugar. And your meals need to be protein, fat, or fiber based. If we just have carbs and sugar, we end up on the roller coaster. We spike our glucose, we drop it back down, we eat it, we get sugar cravings, we eat it again. If you have protein, fat, or fiber, you will have more balanced blood sugar throughout the day and feel better. So eating every 3 to 4 hours, protein, fat, or fiber-based snacks. And then my tip number 3 is if you find yourself to be one of those people that wakes in the middle of the night, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, multiple times, and you can't fall back asleep and your mind's racing, have a protein, fat, or fiber snack right before you go to bed. So this isn't another meal. It's like 1, 2 tablespoons of a nut butter, half an avocado, a hard-boiled egg, even a piece of that protein that was left over from dinner. It's just a little snack to help bring the blood sugar to more of a stable place so the cortisol doesn't have to kick in as soon. And what you'll notice is that instead of waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll make it to 3, you'll make it to 4. And with each consecutive night, you'll start to make it further throughout the night before you wake up. So that's a sign that your blood sugar is getting more stable. And I know someone's gonna ask, what about fasting? Where does fasting fit in? And so fasting is what I call an advanced health practice, meaning that if your blood sugar is stable, if your sleep is great, and you wanna do something extra for your health, there's a lot of research showing how beneficial fasting can be for the brain. But if you're not sleeping well, if you're having sugar cravings throughout the day, if your energy's all over the place, fasting might not be appropriate for you. So start with the basics first. So the next basic, or the next big influencer of our circadian rhythm, is our exposure to sunlight. So cortisol is stimulated in response to sunlight. So that's why one of my tips is to get up in the morning, get some sunlight, let your body know it's daytime. And thousands of years ago, people oriented if it was day or night based on looking up at the blue sky. And so blue light became a major factor for controlling our sleep hormones. And we developed a special photoreceptor in our eyes called melanopsin. And melanopsin's only function was to check and see if it's day or night, see if there was blue light, and tell our brain the result so that our brain could then control our biological clocks. And when this receptor is activated by blue light, we will actually stop the secretion of our sleep hormone melatonin. So the problem is that almost all artificial light sources that we're exposed to throughout the day are blue light based. So our TV screens, our LED, our computer monitors, our iPhones, our iPads all have way more than the recommended amount of blue light. And so working on screens throughout the day, watching TV, is impacting our circadian rhythm. It is impacting the production of our melatonin at night. And we can decrease blue light during the day by using software. So there are software on our iPhone called Night Shift that will change the color. It actually appears a more red color for your iPhone or iPad, or a software called Iris that you can download to your desktop that will change the color. Now, obviously, if you're a graphic designer or you're working with editing and photos and film, you need the true light. But if you're just doing spreadsheets and numbers or emails, absolutely turn that night shift on and decrease your blue light exposure. So my tips 4 and 5 are to decrease blue light during the day, and also from sunset to sunrise, try to eliminate all blue light. Shut off the TV, shut off the iPad, read, and allow that melatonin to be produced. So along with the circadian rhythm, we also have an internal clock in our brain that controls alertness. And it sends out a stronger and stronger message to stay awake as the day goes on, and we'll actually reach a peak at the end of our day. And that's often sometimes when we feel like we get a second wind, we want to start doing another project or cleaning. And what turns off this alert, awake response is the release of melatonin. So if you have blue light during the day, you will suppress your melatonin production and get that second wind and not be able to fall asleep. And it will not only, blue light will not only affect your melatonin production for today, but it can affect subsequent days. So my sixth sleep recommendation is if you're going to use melatonin, you want to remember it's a hormone. So it can be helpful in times like this where maybe doing more screen time because we're working from home, or we have increased stress and it's harder to fall asleep. You can buy melatonin as a supplement, but remember it's part of a rhythm. It's part of that circadian rhythm. And so you want to take melatonin at 8 p.m. so that it peaks at the right time. Remember, melatonin gets produced about 2 hours before bedtime and will peak, allowing you to fall into a deep and restful sleep. So if you take melatonin in the middle of the night when you wake up, you're probably going to feel groggy in the morning because it's working. It's doing its job. It's trying to keep you asleep, but unfortunately you're trying to wake up. So take melatonin at 8 p.m. if you're going to take melatonin. And then of course, look at the other possibilities of why you're not producing enough melatonin with decreasing your blue light, stabilizing your blood sugar. If you're still waking up feeling groggy, and you're taking melatonin at 8 p.m., then take less, that you can wake up in the morning. So our last big influencer of our circadian rhythms and therefore sleep is stress. And stress can be in the mind, and it can be biochemical in the body. So in the mind, stress increases both cortisol and adrenaline, that fight or flight response. And we often add more cortisol to our day by skipping meals, not eating, running around, having mental, emotional stressors. And there are two neurotransmitters that are produced in our brain called GABA and serotonin, and they help us with mood. Serotonin is that feel-good, happy brain chemical. GABA is that calming and relaxing brain chemical, and they act like brakes. They help slow our brain down. Chronic stress is like pushing the gas pedal, and these neurotransmitters are like the brakes. They help our brain slow down, so that can help us wind down at the end of the day. But long-term chronic stress, overscheduling ourselves, will deplete our serotonin and our GABA levels. Also, a diet that lacks in protein and B vitamins will deplete our neurotransmitters. And serotonin is especially important because serotonin is the precursor for melatonin. So if we don't have enough serotonin, there's nothing left over to convert into melatonin, that sleep hormone. So serotonin is important. And I can't talk about stress without talking about another type of biochemical stress, which is caffeine. So caffeine definitely excites our brain cells. It pumps up cortisol, sister hormone, adrenaline, putting you in that fight or flight mode. And it can also interfere with our brain receptors that tell us when we need sleep. So many people don't realize that caffeine has a half-life of 6 to 9 hours. And so a cup of coffee at 4 p.m. Will actually stay in our system till 10 p.m. So that 4 o'clock cup of coffee may be still impacting your sleep all throughout the night. There's a Harvard neuroscientist, Charles Czeisler, that has hypothesized that caffeine combined with electricity allowed humans to escape natural patterns of sleep and wakefulness, breaking them free from the cycle of the sun. So that change, he wrote in National Geographic, enabled the great transformation of human economic endeavor from the farm to the factory. So I think this really points out the importance of being out in nature, getting sunlight, going outside, getting some exercise, connecting with eating and those normal biological processes in our body, and not just being inside, connected to the screens, connected to the computer. That nature really is healing. So along with minimizing your caffeine intake, also minimizing your salt intake. So a high sodium diet from fried food, processed food will often cause nighttime urination. So keeping your salt intake minimized will help prevent you from having to wake up multiple times a night to use the restroom. And as a general rule for sleep, we complete a sleep cycle every 90 minutes. So in 7.5 hours, we have 9 90-minute sleep cycles. And most people feel best when they actually wake up having completed a 90-minute sleep cycle. So try to time your sleep with when you need to wake up in the morning, which means going to bed at an hour that lets you wake up before your alarm clock. For most of us, that means turning off the Netflix, turning off our iPads, our TV shows, which also helps decrease that blue light, drinking less coffee. And my tip number 9 is to get enough sleep and go to bed an hour so that you wake up naturally, being able to fully complete a 90-minute sleep cycle. We also know that research has shown that background white noise, like even just a fan running, can be really helpful for increasing REM sleep, that deep and restful part of your sleep. And it's important to know that there are other sleep conditions, sleep apnea, or even prostate issues that can keep you up at night that do need to be evaluated with your doctor. So this list is not everything that could happen that could prevent you from sleeping. These are more diet and lifestyle based recommendations that you can change right now. So my last recommendation, number 11, is when you're falling asleep, it's the closest you will get to a hypnotic state. So just as your mind drifts off into sleep, your subconscious is very open, your unconscious mind is very open, and the worst thing you can do is watch a scary TV show, watch the news, look on Facebook for stressful things. Really, if your mind is racing and your mind is going, think about things that are positive in your life. Think about things that you appreciate. Allow yourself to fall asleep to something positive and impactful rather than going over your to-do list for the day or listening to something stressful, because this works almost like hypnosis. This allows the brain to absorb that information and really kind of sets the tone for tomorrow's day. So sleep is critical. All the things we've talked about, it's critical for your brain function, your learning, your memory, your immune system, your mood, your energy, your hormones, your metabolism. And the 3 main influencers of our circadian rhythm, and therefore our sleep, are our eating patterns, the type of light we're exposed to, and our stressors, whether those stressors be mental stressors or chemical like caffeine or salt. So my tips, to recap them all, are to eat and get sunlight within an hour of waking up in the morning, to get protein and fat-based meals or snacks every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day. If you have trouble staying asleep throughout the night, you want to have a protein or fat snack right before going to bed. You want to limit blue light throughout the day by using Night Shift or Iris or another software that decreases that blue light on your screens, and then really trying to eliminate blue light altogether from sunset to sunrise. If you're going to take melatonin, you want to take it at 8 p.m. so that it peaks at the right hour. And minimizing your caffeine, minimizing your salt intake are also important. We want to get enough sleep so that we wake up naturally, which will mean setting our bedtime at an earlier time so that we can also decrease our caffeine intake. And then background noise like a white fan can be really helpful for REM sleep. And to try to fall asleep, instead of that to-do list, try to fall asleep thinking of positive things that you can kind of set the tone for the next day. So sleep, like energy and digestion and movement, they're all autonomic processes in our body that we really shouldn't have to think about. It just should happen naturally. So if you're having trouble sleep and you're not getting great sleep, we always want to ask why, what's going on in your body. And I hope that these are some great tips, some diet, some lifestyle things that you can implement now to help improve your sleep, because our goal isn't just to try and find a magic pill for sleep. It's to listen to our bodies. It's to honor our bodies, to realize that some of these symptoms are a sign that something's out of balance. And we want to create resilience and vitality in our body so that we come out the healthiest, best versions of ourselves.